My name is Paul Pauling. Most people just call me Sifu. You know the meaning of Sifu? The teacher. Yeah, keep it simple. In fact, whenever I go to China, people call me the teacher. And if you are called Sifu in Beijing, that means you are a cab driver. You're a carpenter. So make sure there's a language thing there. So, but I think teacher would be not a bad word. And since my childhood, I always hate teaching. And in my whole life, I always got stuck with teaching. And only because of teaching, back in 1967, I could save up enough money to come to Canada. So thanks to teaching. Okay, I taught for 1 year, 16 classes in the high school. Okay, now this is my 8th year with the honor to be able to speak to my friends here, even though the population here may not be as many as I hoped, but this is the essence, the best in Toronto. How is that? So I didn't realize someone's behind my back. Now, in Toronto, we have 2 parking lots, you know that? One is where we just park our cars across the street. Another one is Don Valley parking lot. The other one come down there. And we called it Don Valley parking lot 30 years ago. Amazing, we still call it Don Valley parking lot. And when I was kind of maneuvering among my cars, my wife and my 2 friends began to check up on their life insurance to make sure they're up to date. So that's the way I drove. I think they are safe and sound. They're sitting here. And my good friends, okay, Jonathan, who will design my entire web page. Somebody you may want to know. With my yearly predictions, my speech calendar, and also my 3 major TV interviews in the past. It's all his work. And my good friend Eric Aziz, okay, who introduced me to the Rotary Club of what? Willowdale. I never realized which one. There's so many. Okay, and my wife Lisa, okay, who makes sure that I behave. My wife just came back from China over a 6-month further study of Chinese medicine. And she's also the vice chair of the legalization committee of Chinese medicine in Ontario. So that's Lisa. And beside Lisa, my good friend Margaret, and also very interesting personality, Eddie Chu, and his 2 buddies, Jeff and Holden. And they are planning to put me up somewhere in the air in the near future for 16-episode TV series. And that's going to be aired in all of USA and all of Canada. So Eddie, Holden, and Jeff. And I still want to thank many good friends like, you know who that is right here and who that is sitting there. You know them? You don't know them. Okay, this would not have been successful with the help of all my friends for so many years. So let's get to the guts of this year. Now, has anyone attended my speeches in the past? Yes. Sonia definitely has. Bob definitely has. How accurate were my predictions? Remember for 2003, there would be a worldwide contagious illness on the way. Remember what that was? SARS. Remember that? And for last year, remember 2005? At the beginning, I said there would be a major problem to do with birds, and it's going to be contagious. What happened in 2005? The bird flu. Okay? And 2006, I said there would be major earthquakes between Taiwan and Japan. What happened? Twice in a row. Last month, 4 of 7 under ocean cables got shut. Okay, you guys can't even do internet or something. And then yesterday, another major earthquake just happened outside Taipei, east coast of it. So all those things are coming, as I predicted for 2006, which is not even over yet, still another week to go. Now, what is going to be in the cards for 2007, which is a very exciting year. First of all, what is the year 2007? The pig. What kind of pig is it?
A golden pig.
Who's that roast pig? Raise your hand. This is the year of the roast pig. In fact, we always call every year with the word gold because gold means money, means wealth. So no matter what it is, we say gold. There's only one golden pig year that we know in our life, in our current generation. That's 1971. Other than 71, there's no more golden pigs because it takes many years to repeat. Okay? Now, this is the year of the fire pig. But there are two kinds of fire. We have the yang fire, the yin fire. Yang means positive, yin means negative. We do not want yang fire pig. We want yin fire pig. Because yang fire pig means wars, means impatience, arguments. So yin fire means patience, a little bit more patience, and a little bit more thinking. So, and if you look back at the past 100 years, in most pig years, the world will do well. Because in the 12 horoscope signs that we use in Chinese calendar, the number one wealth sign is the pig. That's why the pig builds that little, middle part. Okay, and the second wealthy sign is represented by, believe it or not, the snake. And the third one, the rooster, and the fourth one, the rat, in that order. So in these years, usually the world kind of behave not too bad. So very important to realize the fact. But in order to chart a year, we use certain mathematical formulas. And whatever I'm going to say definitely has nothing to do with superstition. Because personally, I'm a scientist. As a university or Waterloo computer science graduate and U of T business admin graduate, I definitely defy superstition. So everything I say and do here is computed, calculated mathematically. And we have a set of equations and formulas to calculate the entire world with the 4 levels of depth. And we can trace, personally, I have charted the world up to the next 3,700 years. Actually 2,700 years because we're into the year 2000 something. So all these can be computed. The first person who ever did the calculation for 3,000 years was a master, well, there are 2 people actually. Master Li during the Tang Dynasty, 1,700 years ago. And in his book of predictions, all the major events happened, including Second World War, who invaded China, how the war was finished. The war was finished with a big fireball, and then the sun set in the east, not the west, meaning Japan failed the Second World War. And he said that 1,700 years ago. He put the name Mao Zedong down clearly in his predictions. And he also said certain things which is amazing. He even mentioned the person who dropped the atomic bomb in Japan. Somebody with the last name of the sound Ro, R-O-Ro, who did that, Roosevelt. You see, and he said that 1,700 years ago. The second person who did that was in the Ming Dynasty. That wasn't too long ago, about 700 years ago. That's fairly recent. And the third person is just talking to you now. You'll not be as good as them, but I try my best. Okay? There are 3 major formulas used to chart the future of the world, and they work out, over the past many years, they seem to work out right to the punch. The first one is based on I Ching. And this is part of the formula we use. This year, 2007 coming up, is governed by fire on the top and earth at the bottom. Now, you don't need to know I Ching, otherwise you have to sit with me for the next 3 years to complete the course. But I just want you to recognize the solid line, means male, means yang, Y-A-N-G, the male. The dotted line means the female, the yin. Now, what happened in this year? you have only 2 yangs. You have 4 yins. What does it mean to us? First thing, very significant, is the female power is going to dominate the world this year. Better be nice to your wife or your girlfriend. That also means you are about to see. That also means you are about to see more and more female climbing up the corporate ladder to become CEOs, not just presidents. They become the boss, not just of the home, but also of the corporate. Okay, it's all coming. And there are also getting to be more and more female figures becoming presidents of countries. Can you name a few to me? The president in? Louder.
Germany.
Chile. Philippines. Okay. Remember, women power.
USA,
Yeah, USA, half. Now, if the one running against Hillary is the color guy, Hillary will win, no trouble. If it's a Caucasian, it's half. It's hard because USA, unlike Canada, Canada is very diplomatic. Everybody's equal. In the United States, a lot of people are more equal than some other people.
Yes.
So it's different. So number one, the female power is very dominant. It's important to know. There's one particular place in the world really dominated by female. Hong Kong. A lot of politicians having big states in Hong Kong are actually female. Another country dominated by women, Canada. Canada, I believe, has 60% female, only 40% male. Okay, and that's true. The moment I came to Canada in 1968, it always stayed that way. It doesn't seem to have changed. Yeah, which is not a bad thing. It's so easier to find a wife than a husband. I believe. Now the second thing is because this year is dominated by fire over earth, we are about to experience the hottest year in our memory. The hottest year. So if you haven't bought your bikini yet, want to buy some slow, get a few swimming trunks in my lip. Okay, because it's very hot year. Now it creates a few problems too, because there's so much fire on earth. It means we are also going to have a record number of earthquakes because the earth is sinking in, holes in the earth. The mountains are coming down. So a lot of earthquakes. And quite a number of volcanoes, not as bad as earthquakes, based on that alone. Okay? And the third thing is also interesting. The hot climate is going to dominate the north. The cooler climate is going to dominate the south. Because this part is the north, that means while we are supposed to be the great white north, we're going to become the great red north for change. It's amazing, isn't it? So if you want to enjoy your summer, go to Florida. If you want to enjoy your winter, you may have to come to Toronto. So that's the first thing to know. Very important. Now, so what about politics? Now, to use this diagram to predict politics is interesting too, because there's a lot of impatience, enormous impatience in the world, and a lot of problems affecting different countries are from inside and not outside. Reason, if you see the two yangs cooperating a yin in the center, it's almost like an urn, an oven, with a fire burning inside. The outside apparently cold, but inside hot. So most problems in most countries this year are from inside, internal problem. You're about to witness internal fighting. Infighting, say in Canada, within the Liberal Party, within the PC Party, they're killing each other inside before they kill other people. Things like that. And also in the United States, Democrats having their problem, the turmoil, who's going to lead us? And the Republicans, the same thing. They still haven't figured out who's the leader. But one thing for sure, the Republicans in 2008, unfortunately it's 1 year later, will not get back in power. So it will be Democratic coming back. That also affects the predictions. Now the second formula affecting the predictions is called the flying star theory. Now this is governed by a symbol like this. Earth on top of mountain. Now this is flying star representation of the coming year. Earth on top of mountain, meaning you have to be humble. Okay, you have to be humble. Even the tall mountain had to be under the earth. That also means record number of earthquakes and volcanoes in the nature scene. But more importantly, a lot of countries that used to rule the world, like United States, like England, they are going to be very humbled in this year. Very humble. They have a negative economic growth, negative, and whereas the emerging countries and the weaker countries such as Canada, China, India, South America, they're on a positive cycle. That means they actually would do much better in terms of growth economically. So the used to be powerful countries, now they're in trouble. They're humbled. So in other words, the earth and the mountain places got reversed. The mountain becomes under, the earth becomes above. So that's going to happen in this year. But one more thing to prove the other point, how many dotted lines are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many solid lines here? Only one. Female power once again. The female sitting on top of the male. How about it? But if you look at this diagram, another thing you see, if you, I have invented a method that no one that I know of has talked about in the history for many thousand years, and it seems to work very well. Is to picturize this symbol. Don't just interpret this as a face value. It goes beyond the face value. So we have to look at it face. You see these 2 points are like the 2 legs. That means there's a lot of motion, immigration, migration of mankind in this coming year. So if you are in an immigration business, you're going to do marvelous. If you are in a travel business like my disciple number 90, Daniel, just came in. He's the owner of Jacko Tours. They are also going to do very well. Anything to do with mobilities will do well. All right? Now, on the top, you see this is like a mouth. So if you're in a business to do with talking, like what I do, lawyers, or actors, actresses, or sales and marketers, they are all going to do well. Because if you have the bigger mouth you have, the more money you make. So you show your neighbor how big your mouth is. That way you know how much money you're going to make for this year. Okay? But that's on the good side. What about on the negative side? On the negative side, you see the high and the low got worse. Most of our problems in nature in 2007 had to be from the sky. So we may actually have a record number of airplane accidents, high-rises, malfunctioning. In other words, they build tall buildings, but these buildings have defects and they may have to be put down completely. We are going to see huge big walls falling down, coming down a lot. And on top of that, we are going to have a repeat of both the bird flu and SARS this year, but in a much, much smaller scale. And the ultimate to correct the problem is by controlling your health, by putting your health to heart, keeping yourself healthy. That's the ultimate. So keep that in mind, all right? Now, so that's on the I Ching side. But there's another very important theory. Now, this year, if you draw a square, I think it's about time to dance. Okay. This year is governed by the number 2. Now it's very important to understand this diagram. Okay, this is like a little computer game here. Now, this year the controlling power is the number 2. What is 2? I call it the 9 numbers. When 2 is combined with 5, it becomes sickness, and it becomes food problems. So 2007 is going to be dominated by problems with food, especially in central countries, represented by China and Middle East. So a lot of food problems are coming in to be known to the world, especially those from central part of China. And you already begin to see something. Because the year usually will face in within 60 days, especially within 30 days of the new year. And if you ever listen to the news, I don't know if any one of you ever listen to Asian news. This is already coming up, all kinds of problems. And the major problem to do with food will be from above and from below. From above will be birds, like chicken. From below will be fish. So those are the major problems for this year. The governing force, 2. But 2 also represents 2 more things. Number 1, on the negative side would be things to do. Well, I don't know how negative you want to go to, but it's so good to know because it creates opportunities. Okay? That is Western medication, drugs. A lot of medication you've been taking for the past 10 years. Suddenly this year they found out they are fatal to you. They will screw you up. Last year they finally discovered if you take too much Tylenol, your liver would be gone. Okay, you'll be half dead. Even one medication. And more, and Viagra will make you blind. Anybody who takes Viagra a lot eventually become blind. All this is being discovered. Okay, it's because it has to do with drugs. And also, especially in North America, in France, USA, and Canada, you are about to see enormous uproar of pharmaceutical companies. Enormous record number of layoffs because of problems, competition, everything. Restructuring, merging of pharmaceutical companies. So if you want to buy stocks, place stocks in these companies, keep in mind most pharmaceutical companies in 2007 would be in trouble. Okay, very important to know that. On the positive side, against the traffic, as I always do, the whole world says Canadian real estate is going to collapse, it's overpriced or something. I think I'm the only soul on earth saying that the opposite is true. Toronto is going to do extremely well in real estate, especially in certain areas. Canada at large is not bad. Okay, so you have to know that. Now, with that, we have to come to what kind of businesses would be good for 2007. What kind of businesses you should be careful about. That would also relate to what kind of stocks you should play, what you should avoid. And then we would talk about, well, we have talked about a lot of natural disasters. Let's put it to rest. And then we would talk about the meaning of positioning, different directions, how you can optimize your life. And then last but not least, we'll come to a little bit of your horoscope signs. You are free to ask questions right through, okay? You don't need to wait until the end. Now the best, this is not a flip chart, it's going to flip. Okay, let me leave this here for now, unfortunately. The number 1 business for 2007 is fire. Now what is fire? Energy is fire. Electronics is fire. Hydro lines, fire. And also computers, high-tech fire. So these are very dominant, number 1 of the rank businesses in 2007. That also means finally the .com doldrum is going to leave us. We are into a revival, but a completely different scenario. So like anything in life, the world keeps changing. The only thing that is constant in the universe is change. So if you are good with the economic of high tech, you have to be careful. The big may not be the best. The emerging one may be the one you want to look for. So my advice is locate the companies that are going to be acquired by Google, by Microsoft, and by Apple. You're going to make a fortune for this year. Very important to know. All right? And anybody coming up with new energy resources and methods is going to make a fortune this year because of the fire. So energy is fire. That also means if you are in a service business, but computers, you should do well this year. But service is key. Hardware is history. You don't make money from it. Okay? Because on the negative side would be metal. And part of that is computer hardware, but also automobiles. And I'll come to that in a minute. What other business is fire? Communications. Okay, enormous fighting in that sector. Companies eating companies. But most important, fire business, entertainment. Finally, after many years of problems, we finally see the entertainment business coming up, breathing fire, and coming alive with a different catch. What is the catch? The catch is the single word, spiritualism. The whole world finally gets sick and tired of materialism, fighting, killing each other, and slowly but surely moving toward spiritualism. So if you are doing movies to do with the unknown, to do with spiritualism, you're going to make a lot of money this year. Okay? We're sick and tired of these killings. So the trend is, the tide is turning, and that is fire. Okay? Any other fires you can think of? Okay. On the second best of this year is earth, so as the worst. Okay, on the good side, earth meaning real estate. The earthiest earth in the world is real estate. We are about to see new building materials. If you have ideas of new building materials, they will be accepted very readily, and you're going to make a lot of money. And if you want to make money in places like Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, real estate is still number one. It's very location oriented, obviously, because of the earth. All right, and also things to do with your health in general. If you have methods to do better health without medication, because western medication is true, that's bad. But if you come up with healthier methods like natural healing, and also like Tai Chi, Qigong, and yoga, all these old ancient things are coming back alive. So if you're a Tai Chi teacher, if you have a new methods, you're going to do very well this year. So that's on the earth side. Earth also represents healing. All right? And the third side is metal. But metal is very location oriented. The most typical metal is what? Gold. Automobiles, cars. Copper, gold. So if you're into that business, gold will go up by mid-year this year. Okay? So hit it when it's low, sell it when it's high, be careful. But it's location oriented. Metal like automobiles will do extremely well in countries like Germany, Sweden, and also Japan, but will do enormously terribly in America, because they are affected by the life cycle of the country. USA's life cycle is on the way down. And the major business is metal, automobiles. So if you want to invest, stay away from the big three. They're going to be in huge trouble. I think they're about to lay off enormous number of people. They're going to lose record amount of money when you combine 2006 and 2007. And there's no hope to recover. Unless there's only one thing, unless they go in partnership with a German company or a Japanese company. All right? But if the country is in a good cycle such as China, their automobiles will do marvelous. People were saying, but last year I predicted China is about to export the cars to North America. See, they're just doing it now. Okay, slowly but surely, it's going to capture North America in no time at all. So if you see a Chinese automobile maker going to go public, that's where money is. You can make a lot of money from it. All right. So that is on the metal side. And if you have a source of scrap metal, you're going to be a millionaire overnight. The world is going to cry and hope to have more metal, especially two countries, China and India. They need enormous amount of metal. If you have scrap steel or scrap copper, you can ship them to those countries. You're an instant millionaire. Okay. Now on the negative side, wood will be negative, but also country related. If you are in textile business, you're in Europe, you're in the United States, you're in Canada, my advice is get out of it as soon as you can. You're going to be in big trouble this year. Okay? But what other wood business? Chinese medicine, natural healing is wood. And there will be enormous infighting in the Chinese medicine societies. Different factors and factions going to shoot the other factions down. Instead of promoting Chinese medicine, they're going to kill each other before it gets anywhere. Infighting. Because most problems are from inside. And because it's wood, so it's going to be in trouble this year. So it's important to know. All right? But in emerging countries like China, textile actually is not bad. They're going to conquer the whole world. They already have, I believe. What about the water side? Water is also negative for this year. But remember, the word danger is half risk and half opportunity. It's danger because we are about to see a lot of problems to do with water. A lot of sewage system in Toronto, for example, going to fail and burst. But if you invent some kind of pipes that last forever, if it exists, you make yourself a very wealthy person very quickly, and we need it. And also, quality of water we're drinking, we are about to see problems with water. But if you are in the water filtering business, opportunities. You see, travel is also water. But if you are traveling toward the proper countries in the world, and also provide proper service, you're going to make money. Because most of them won't make money. Most travel people, travel agencies will be in trouble. So you have to find a niche. The niche can be versatile. So within the positive, there's a negative. Within the negative, there's a positive. It's how you do it. So those are the key business sectors. Have I missed any major sectors that you want to raise your hand and ask me? No one? Yes, Soha.
Education.
Education is fire. Very interesting question. Has anybody ever read the textbook used to be grade 13, now I got demoted, grade 12. The textbook is called Entrepreneurship. Has anybody taken a look at the textbook? You should, because one of the chapters was dedicated to me. You see my picture and my life story in the high school textbook in Ontario. So it would be something you should take a look at. Education is heading a new direction for this year, a new direction. So it's also going through a change for you to be aware of. But in general, it would do well. If you want to run a school, you're going to make money. If you want to make a lot of money, run an international school in Beijing. That's a lot of money. Because I feng shui 2 of them in Beijing. Boy, these guys became so wealthy so quickly. You're talking about 2 years. They already made over $10 million in no time at all. Go ahead.
How about publishing?
Publishing is half fire, half wood. Okay, publishing, if you are targeting the traditional method, you're going to be in big trouble. If you come up with new ideas, you are going to do very well. What new ideas? Topics of the future. People want to hear. Quality and the particular paper that you should use. So you can do well. But overall, publishing will do well. Still, overall.
Canadian and US stock markets.
Haven't even gone, well, that's an important topic. Okay. Now, the stock market, you should read my website. I already identified which month the index will go up, which month the index will go down. I looked at my last 2 years, they seem to be very much so on par, almost exactly as I said. Okay, in general, in the United States, stay away from real estate if you're selling. If you're buying, get into real estate. Okay, I just came back from Miami. I was there last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'm going back on the 9th because the whole world in Miami wants to see me. I've already seen many families, some from Bolivia, a few from Venezuela, one from Argentina, another family from Atlanta, Georgia, all going to Miami to meet with me. So I read about what's going on too, to prove the point. Okay, USA stocks are going to be in huge fluctuations. But if in USA you can target the high-tech sector, you do well. If you target the real estate sector, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? And in USA, I would be very careful about banking sector. In Canada, I would be bullish on the real estate sector. I would be bullish on the banking sector. So a little opposite. A lot of people said USA is falling apart now. They're going down. They would drag Canada to do with it. It's quite the opposite. You know what saved Canada? 911. September 11 killed the U.S. economy, but boosted the Canadian economy. Because of the 911 factor and because of the way the world works, the way the I-Ching works, a lot of money has come to Canada, not from China, not from Russia or Europe, but from USA. Okay? And that's important to recognize. And more so now because in the last year of Bush administration, they are going to kind of uplift the fear for terrorism. That will drive more money into Canada. So while USA is going down, Canada is going up. And Canada, Toronto is doing even better. Okay, so any other questions about that? Did I answer the question? Okay, yes sir.
Oil from the Middle East and domestic ethanol from corn. What would you?
Okay, the oil is going to fluctuate like you never seen before. It's going to be like a toilet seat, ups and downs. Okay, or like a yo-yo. Okay, unless it's all female or male, then it won't move up and down. Okay, now my prediction is by toward the later part of, or rather center part of this year, it's going to go way up. So in other words, this is the best time to invest in Canadian dollars. Like last year I said, you guys, if you're smart, should buy a lot of US dollars, and I did. You keep a lot of US dollars last year because it's about to go way up. Remember? I don't know if you remember that or not, but it happened. And this year's the other way. Canadian dollars is going way down to about 84 cents or something. Toward mid-year is going to go back up to 88. Around 88. So it's time to make some money from currencies. Part of that is because of oil. Canada's major problem is too reliant on natural resources, too one-sided. If the Canadian politicians are smart, they should diversify the risk, and people should not rely too much on one sector. I would say Canada should rely more on high-tech. We have a lot of smart people here. I see quite a few here already, like my friend Zohan. Okay. And also on real estate. What makes Hong Kong wealthy? Hong Kong has no oil. What makes Hong Kong wealthy? Real estate, stocks. What does Singapore live on? Stocks. They don't have anything, just stocks. So the moment you go to a restaurant in Singapore, you see it's full, that means Dow Jones has gone up. If the restaurant is empty, Dow Jones has fallen down the hole. That's an indicator it's a restaurant in Singapore. So oil would be like that. So it's going to go down, and then it's going to go up, and then it's going to go down again toward the end of the year. So the peak is actually close to summer, amazing. I guess most people use a lot of AC. So hydro would do well too, if you buy hydro stocks for summer. Any other questions?
How about the gold sector?
The gold?
Yeah.
Gold would be about the same. Summertime is going to peak, but spring and winter is going to fall at the bottom. So this time for you to buy now and sell in summer. Now let's look at the locations. Back to this, that's why I don't erase it. Now you look at this diagram, it's very interesting. The money center is southwest. Okay, what is southwest? Southwest will be represented by the southwest side of BC, British Columbia. But this southwest money center is one of the most unstable in history. While it's the money center, it's also unstable. That means it's big swings, ups and downs, political instability. So it's an interesting way of money center. But if you want to line up your house to make a little bit more money this year, don't forget to put your piggy bank at the southeast corner of your house. Or if your house faces, the main entrance faces southwest, you are liable to make some good money this year. Southwest.
Piggy bank in the south.
Piggy bank.
Write that down.
You know the definition of piggy bank? No? It doesn't mean something that looks like a pig. Okay. You know why they like piggy banks? Because of what I said at the beginning. What's the wealthiest sign of the 12 signs? The pig, you got it. Another definition, a piggy bank is an instrument that money can get in easily but hard to get out. That's why you have a coin slot with a seal bottom. Got it? But do it well. You should still let somebody out, otherwise it becomes constipation.
Okay.
Okay. In and out, give and take. That's life. Now the second interesting center, most interesting, is the West. West is a learning center. Very useful. Like the letters will show. Learning. But also something called the triple conflict center. Now, triple conflict is a very powerful force. Now, learning first. Now, West is represented in North America by California. West is also represented by the country, United States and Western Europe, especially UK. That also means there's a lot of new inventions coming out of California, like Silicon Valley. That means we are about to see some breakthroughs of the high tech. That means also that companies like Google, Apple, etc., they're going to do marvelous this year. Microsoft, obviously, because of that. But at the same time, it's a triple conflict center. What is triple conflict? Legal problems, battling, warring problems, and also theft problems, arguments. Those are triple conflict. That means whether USA likes it or not, in the last year of George Bush, he's still embroiled into the conflicts of the world. Instead of getting out of Iraq, this boy want to get more into Iraq, not just Iraq. It's getting into Somalia, Ethiopia, even trying, but not quite, Iran. Okay? Somehow nobody ever learned from the Vietnam War. If they learn from how can you get into other people's country in which you can win, it's impossible. Okay? The only problem can only be solved by their own people, not by outside people. Okay? The way they went into Iraq was no different from the way these 8 countries went into China back at the end of the 19th century. Same idea. They would never win. Somehow history is the biggest learning textbook, and very few politicians learn from the textbook. Okay, so USA is going to be in big trouble financially, politically. They're going to lose a lot of the world's support from it. Okay, so that's unfortunate. But what about Canada? How does it affect Canada? That means we have an upsurge of union problems in BC. In BC, that can get Mr. Clark into big trouble. Okay, so that's a problem. Like what killed the big 3 automobiles is one single word: unions. What killed BC is same word: unions. What's going to kill England? Same word: unions, labor unions. These are going to kill the business world and kill the country as well. So what about Northwest? Northwest is the argument center. In Canada, it's represented by the north side of Alberta. That means Edmonton. Edmonton is capital Alberta. You're about to see a lot of controversies, a lot of arguments, infightings in the new cabinet of the Alberta government, which is unfortunate because it's a beautiful province. Okay, but also the same goes on with places like Washington State, like Seattle area, some northwest part of the country. What about the north side? The north side is receding. Now, last year, 2006, this was the money center. So Alberta dominated the country. No more. No more. That means oil is not going to stay high this year. It's going to be high and low, low and high. So the income is not as great. And the real estate will not perform the way they did before. In fact, in Alberta, a lot of people who want to speculate may get stuck with the properties they could not unload. And they are not willing to lower the prices to sell them. It's because they're stuck with the receding power. Receding power is not doing as well as it used to. Okay, so that's the north side. But because Canada overall is doing well, so overall they're still okay, but not as good. That's all. Now, what about northeast? Northeast is the most negative center for this year. It's called the 5 yellow center. In Asia, that would be represented by Korea and Japan. We are going to see a lot of problems in those two countries. Okay, it will be huge natural disasters around, especially northern part of Japan. Northern part of Japan, I don't know what they call it. Okay, huge. Okay, yeah, I only know sushi and sashimi, that's all. Something like that. Okay, but in those areas, there will be major earthquakes, in which can create a level of tsunami. And also Korea is going to suffer a lot from famine. Famine, Northern Korea in particular, which is maybe a punishment to their nuclear weapon crazy stuff. When you watch North Korean behavior, did anyone ever watch a movie called The Red Wars? The Red Wars? Anybody older than 50 years? No? You're all young kids?
No one's going to admit it.
Okay. Well, my good friend Bob and I, with the bell, we saw the movie. Did you see the movie? Nobody seen the movie? The movie was shown about the 1950s and 1960s. So if you were born after 1965, forget it. Okay, the Red War means this little country, okay, told the world they had an atomic bomb. The bomb was only in the size of a suitcase. Can you believe that, first of all? And then it went all over the world and demand money, demand power. They want to be the strongest country in the world, such a tiny little country. By the end of the movie, when they opened the box, there was a rat there. They said, no atomic bomb. So that represents North Korea. Now, in terms of Canada, that's represented by Quebec. You are going to see the Francophones, the Quebecois, want to fight independence once again. But remember what I said, the Red Wars, they are not getting anywhere, but they're going to make quite a comeback, quite a lot of noise. I hope the Liberal Party is going to pay attention to that. 5 yellow center. But in terms of health, a lot of new illnesses will come from northeastern of China. Northeastern China. A lot of new sorts of contagious illnesses, such as a bird flu, will be from the northeastern part of a continent and coming back this year. Now, what about the east side? The east side is a joy center, a lot of party events. But because it's governed by two numbers, actually, the number 6 and the number 9. When 6 and 9 are joined together, it means heavy fire. We are about to see a lot of fires in Scarborough this year. Anybody live in Scarborough? Everybody is. I call it Scarborough the springboard of China. Okay, so there's a lot of house fires there, be careful. A lot of street fighting too. So, but at the same time, a lot of party events. Now, in terms of Asia is represented by the southern part of Japan, that means Japan is going to be heated. But at the same time, there's a lot of joy. They are going to be mellowed down a bit. So it's very interesting. In other words, in 2007, Japan is more than willing to admit their mistakes in the Second World War and try to make friends with China. Okay? But the problem is they also have a huge economic growth, and especially when they deal with toys. Toys are going to do very well this year because it's governed by joy. Part of that is toys. Okay, that's why toy and joy sound alike, only different by one letter. They are actually related. You have a toy, you have joy. Got it? Does it make sense? Okay, they are actually in the trouble because natural disasters that will take a lot of their attention. The disasters would include volcanoes, earthquakes, train problems, airplane problems, anything to do with height. Okay. Now, what about Southeast? Southeast is the romance center of the year. But it's also called the speculative money center. So there are two money centers for this year. And interesting enough, one is at Southwest, the proper one. The other one is at Southeast. If you want to play with the stock market, if you're a gambler, that's where you want to set up your piggy bank, southeast corner of your house. Southwest is for the normal income. Like as an accountant, you want to have a lot of new plans, work hard, make a lot of money, Southwest. If you're a gambler, it's Southeast. But if you have trouble finding a wife or a husband, do something about the southeast corner of the house. Increase some romance.
Put a lot of money there.
That too. You can pay a lot of money to get that. Okay, so very interesting center. But on the negative side, it also means a lot of problems with the pornography, with the copyright stuff, especially in Taiwan and in Guangdong and Fujian, southeastern China. You see a lot of crimes popping up on those three places. So the Asian crime center could be Guangdong, Fujian, and Taiwan for this coming year. So if you go there for holiday, you better be careful. All right. Now, what about the South Center? The South is a travel center. So if you're in the travel business, where should you target your package tours? South.
Cuba.
Cuba is south, obviously. Cuba is very romantic this year because it's southeast. Okay? And then south, like Mexico. Mexico is going to do very well this year, by the way. Anybody from Mexico? Yeah. Do you know there's a fellow? Have you ever heard of a state north of Mexico City called Hidalgo? Do you know in 1993 someone feng shui the whole state and make them the richest state in Mexico?
You did.
I did it. No, seriously. I did it in Mr. Karam, Jeshu Karam's private helicopter. We flew about the state for 4 hours. On the big map, I highlighted how we should develop the state, where the money center is. It worked very well. In fact, without Hidalgo, there's no water in Mexico City. That's the only place to supply water to Mexico City. And there's the largest silver mine now in Mexico. So that's Hidalgo. Travel center, remember, goes south. But at the same time, this is also a center of change. So almost all countries in South America are about to go through changes. If they are capitalistic countries, they will become communistic. If they are communism countries, they become capitalistic. It's like changing partners. You're going to see a lot of that happening. You are also going to see a lot of leaders going to change. The first one going to be in big trouble or big change is Venezuela. Okay. Okay? But he's going to be in big trouble. Okay? So you're about to see some assassination at the top of the state in South America. You know, this forced change. All that is happening. So very interesting to observe the world. Now, what about Middle East? Governed by the number 2. Is there any peace in Middle East? Not for the next 1,000 years. I say 60 years to be humble. Reality 1,000. Mainly because the feng shui of Middle East is so bad. Okay. Now, with that, I want you to whoever studying geology, I'll give you an interesting feng shui observation. In the world, anywhere with a lot of sand, desert, definitely would have a lot of oil. Anywhere with a lot of mountains, definitely would have a lot of mines. Very interesting. Because it's principle of yin and yang, so it had to happen that way. The greatest oil reserve in the world is Sahara Desert. If they have a way to drill down the sand. The greatest mine is in the Himalayas. Okay? The worst, the poorest, actually has the most wealthy. Okay, so that concludes with the prediction of different locations in the world, how the world is going to fare. Overall, economically, overall, the world is going to do better.
What about Toronto? You didn't mention Toronto.
Aha! Toronto is what part of the country?
What is it?
Southeast. Toronto is right in the romance center of the country. We're speculating money. Looks like Rama is going to do well. Yeah, but that's important. So that also means TSX stocks are going to be big swings, very speculative. Opportunities to make a lot of money or lose a lot of money. So, as long as there's movement, you can make money. Toronto will do extremely well. Extremely well. And in Toronto, certain centers you want to pay attention to. Number 1 is Southwest of Toronto. Well, Southwest Toronto is the entertainment center of the country. About King and Dufferin area. That indicates there's some life in Toronto for entertainment. But that part really say is going to really pick up. If you own some rundown houses in Parkdale, you may just be sitting on the gold mine. Okay? And the harbour front, southern part of Toronto, is going through enormous transition. You're about to see new office towers coming up. New office towers. You're going to see huge change all around the garden. So the dream finally will come true. If not for the NDP in the early 1980s, you know who shut down the plan to modernize the railway land and harbourfront in 1982, 1984? Jack Layton.
Yes, he did.
He shut it down. If not for him, that whole area would have been so modern. Toronto would be twice more prosperous now. Because of the NDP, it slowed down the whole development of downtown. Okay? So, but it's reversal. Okay, any other questions? Before I move on to the horoscopes, your time runs out. I'm a little windy tonight because I think this is most important. Okay, let me go to your horoscope signs. What year is this?
No.
Pig.
Well,
Oh, dog.
dog down.
Okay. What year is it 1 week from now?
Trick question.
It's like this to the dog. The pig, fire pig, roast pork. Now, how many kinds of pigs do we have?
5.
5. And can you name them?
Metal.
Metal, wood, earth, fire, and
Wood.